Hello and welcome to PsychBoost. In this video we'll be looking at referencing. I'll tell you why we should use references, and I'll also tell you how to write a reference. I'll also mention the terms citation and plagiarism, and also a term you might have seen around, et al. So before we go on to writing a reference, let's say what a reference is. Each scientific study that's conducted builds on the work of previous studies. No one piece of science is done in isolation. So when a scientist comes to write up their study for other scientists to read, they'll point to, they'll cite the work of other researchers when it comes to justifying the reason for them carrying out the research that they've done. This is important because they'll be discussing ideas that aren't their own. If you state an idea that isn't yours and you take credit for it, this is a term called plagiarism. So to avoid this, discussion about other researchers' work usually comes in the introduction section of a research report. It's a good thing to show a large number of references. It does indicate that you've done wide reading before developing your own study. So when writing the study, if you mention the name of another researcher in relationship to their work, in the text of your report, it's called a citation. And all it will contain is just the last name and the year. So maybe Milgram 1963 or Sensky et al 2000. The et al stands for and others in Latin. What it means is there were a number of other researchers who helped write the paper, but if you write et al, it saves writing them all out individually. So all these citations that's written in the body of the text are listed in a standard format in full at the end of the research article in a place called the reference section. Being written out in full allows other researchers to go and check the information. Maybe what you've written has interested them and they want to find out more, or perhaps they think you've been mistaken in what you've understood. So let's go on to how to properly write a reference. This has been asked directly as a question in a previous paper. So first of all, if we need to reference a book, we'll start off with the surname and the initials of the researcher. We don't use et al here. If there are multiple researchers, we'll list them out in the same format. Then in brackets, we'll write the year of the publication. After that, we'll put the title of the book. Now in an exam this won't matter, but if you're typing this up, when you write the title of the book, you write it in italics. After the title of the book, we need to put down the place of publication. This might be, for example, London. But here we've got Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. And finally we finish off with the publisher, so the company that actually created the book. And in this case it's Prentice Hall. So we might need to reference a book, or we might need to reference a journal article. Referencing a journal article is quite similar. Again, we start with the surname and the initials of each researcher. Again, we don't use et al. We put the year of the publication of the research article in brackets. We put the title of the study and then the journal title. So when articles are published, they're gathered together in journals, a little bit like magazines. The journal title in this case is put in italics. We then have volumes and issues. It's unlikely you'll need this information for A-level, but if you're looking back on this to see how to Harvard reference, volumes are a larger collection of separate issues. So each individual issue might have a small range of articles within it. And finally we say what the page numbers are that you'd find this particular study in. So in this case we have Milgram, S for Stanley, brackets 1963, Behavioural Study of Obedience in the Journal of Abnormal and Social Psychology, volume 67, page numbers 371 to 378. If you're in an exam and you want to get points, the main thing to consider is make sure the beginning of your reference starts with the surname of the researcher. Make sure the dates are in brackets, and try and follow the rest of my instructions as best you can. Don't worry too much about the punctuation. It is important when properly writing a Harvard reference, but the mark scheme for the question that this was in last year didn't give much importance to the punctuation. Best of luck. I really hope you found this video useful in studying psychology. 3 things help this channel grow along: likes, comments and subscriptions. Thank you so much if you've done any of those things for this video.